Hello and welcome to BISP Solutions. In our today's session, we will see what is CTA, that is cumulative translation adjustments, and we will also see the calculation of CTA. So let's first understand what is CTA. So CTA, or cumulative translation adjustment, is basically the difference is the difference to make the balance sheet to make the balance sheet balance. So what happens is, when we have various subsidiaries and each subsidiaries having different currencies, and when we prepare the consolidated financial statement, it should be prepared as per the reporting currencies of the currency of the parent. So when we convert or when we translate the subsidiaries to the parent entity, or parent currency or the reporting currency, we get some differences while translating the financial statements of subsidiary entities. So when we translate those entities, we get some differences, and that difference is stored under the name CTA, that is cumulative translation adjustment account. Now we have three types of rates which we can convert the items of balance sheet and the profit and loss account of the subsidiaries. If we want to convert the balance sheet items of the subsidiary companies, then all the items of balance sheet will get converted at the ending rate. And if we want to convert the items of profit and loss account, then all the items of profit and loss account of subsidiaries will get converted at the average rate. Historical rate is used for the common stock of the subsidiary, and for the investment in the subsidiary we use the historical rate. And when we apply these average rates, ending rate, to the profit and loss account of the subsidiaries and the balance sheet of the subsidiaries, we get a difference that is known as the CTA, that is cumulative translation adjustments. So today we will see functionally how the CTA is calculated and how our FCCs application will calculate this CTA. So let's get started with our use case. So this is my use case. So we have one holding entity, that is S101, and its subsidiary entity S102. Holding entity has its currency USD, while the subsidiary entity has the currency as CAD, that is Canadian dollar, and it has the 100% ownership in the subsidiary. Now we can see that we have few items of the assets and balance sheet and the P&L items. Under the balance sheet items, we have the cash, which is of 80,000, 70,000. We have land, that is 1,20,90, and we have investment in subsidiaries, that is 65,000. We have common stock for both the entities, 1,50,000. We have retained earnings, 60,000 and 30,000, and we have creditors for 1,05,000 and 80,000. So functionally, first let's calculate the CTA figure. So what will happen? This is CT, and we have the exchange rates given. So these are like our exchange rate. Average rate is 1.18. These are all assumed rates. Ending rate is 1.2 and historical rate is 1.25. This we will use for common stock of the subsidiary while calculation of CTA. Now let's apply. Now let's start converting all the items of assets and liabilities, because all these amounts are in the CAD. For the purpose of consolidation, we need to convert them into USD. So let's convert them one by one. So as we know that all the items of balance sheet will get converted at the ending rate. So cash is a balance sheet item, so we will convert it at ending rate, that is our ending rate is 1.2. So we have written 1.2 over here. Then we have land. Land is again a balance sheet item, so we will convert it at 1.2. Then investment in subsidiary will not get converted. Then because it is not there in subsidiary, all the items of subsidiary will get converted. Then we have common stock. It will get converted at the historical rate, that is 1.25. Then we have retained earnings. Retained earnings will get converted at the average rate. Then we have creditors that we converted at ending rate. So what we did is we converted this entity, like 70,000 into 1.2 is 84,000. 70,000 into 1.2, we have converted from CAD, we are converting from CAD to USD by applying the exchange rates, and we have three exchange rates: average rate, ending rate, and the historical rate. So as it's mentioned, the ending rate, so 70,000 into 1.2, that comes to 84,000. Similarly, 90,000 into 1.2, 1,08,000. Then when we will we are converting 50,000, this is the common stock, it will get converted at the historical rate 1.25, so it's coming to 62,500. Then this is 30,000 retained earnings. Retained earnings is the item of profit and loss account, so it will get converted at the average rate 1.18. And these are the creditors that will be converted at ending rate, that is 1.2, and we are getting the amount as 96,000. Okay, now these are the converted figures. Now if we want to perform the consolidation with these converted figures, how we'll perform the consolidation is like we will add one by one item of parent entity and the converted figures of the subsidiary entity. So we have, let's perform the consolidation also. So we have cash of parent entity, that is 80,000, and the converted amount of subsidiary, that is 84,000, that comes to 1,64,000. 80,000 plus 84,000. Similarly, we will convert, sum all the items. We have land, so 1,20,000 plus 1,08,000, that becomes 2,28,000. And then when we will perform the consolidation, this investment and subsidiary will get eliminated. Okay, so we won't be converting it and it will be nil. Then we have a goodwill. We will see the calculation of goodwill also. Then we have common stock. So now when it is converted, but when we prepare the consolidated financial statement, the common stock of parent will be prevailing. So we have 1 lakh for the common stock of parent entity. Then retained earnings, so 60,000 of the parent entity, as it is the 100% holding, there is no ownership percentage applied to the retained earnings. So this is 60,000 plus 35,400 will give us the 95,400. Then next we have the creditors. 1,05,000 of the parent entity plus converted amount of the subsidiary entity, 96,000, will give us 2,01,000. So this is how we have prepared the consolidated financial statement. Now we have prepared the consolidated financial statement. Now let's check for the balancing of assets and liabilities. We will see that where we have converted the figures, our assets and liabilities will not be balanced, as we know that in our balance sheet it should assets should be equal to our liabilities. So the total of, and let's see the first let's see the calculation of goodwill also. So my goodwill, my investment in subsidiary 65,000, right, and the converted amount of subsidiary is 62,500. So 65,000 and the converted amount is 62,500. So that means I got a goodwill of 2,500. So this is how 2,500 is calculated. Now let's add all the items of asset side. So when I add the items of asset sides, its total comes to 7,89,000. Let's write it over here, 7,89,000. Now let's total the items of liability side. So this will be 94,000. 2 lakh. Let's do the calculation over here. This 1 lakh plus 95,400 plus 2,01,000. Are we missing anything? Why not? No, nothing. We have taken the common stock, we have taken the retained earnings, and we have taken the creditors amount. No, sorry. We won't be calculating on the consolidated part. We will be calculating it on the converted part of the subsidiary entity. So let's calculate the balance sheet. Let's do the total of the balance sheet. So for our asset side, we have the total amounts to 1,92,000. So asset 1,92,000. Okay, now for liability side, we have, let's do the calculation. We have common stock of 62,500. Then wait, 62,500 common stock. Then we have retained earnings of 35,400, and then we have creditors of 96,000. So our total comes to 1,93,900. But this is my liability and these are my assets. So as we can see that my assets are not equal to my liability, that means we have a difference, and this difference is known as the CTA, and this difference is because of the exchange rates that we have taken. Okay, wait, let me show you the calculation. Line like 1,92,000. So my CTA is 1900. We could see that this is negative figure, 1900. Either we can show it by negative sign or we can show it under the asset side. So we have a CTA of 1900. This is how functionally we calculate CTA. And then similarly we will add in the consolidated financial statement the amount of the CTA. Rest calculation we have seen. Now this was the functional part of calculating the CTA. Now let's see how our application will calculate the CTA. So this is the extract of the balance sheet and the P&L account. Similar, all the items I've taken of this functional calculation only. So let's input the figures. I've connected this sheet with the smart view, and I've defined all the POVs. This is my view. I've taken the view as periodic. I've taken this is my parent entity S101, and this is my subsidiary entity S102. Then next we have is currency. So I've taken entity currency. Then this is my data source. So my data source would be data input. Then this is consolidation dimension. We have defined the consolidation dimension as entity input. Then intercompany dimension, for now we have defined as no intercompany, but when we will define the investment sub, we will define the investment intercompany dimension also. Okay, then we have the multi-gap. We will define it as local gap. Then product, we have defined it as no product. Then we have taken the scenario as plan, then year as financial year 50, and period as January. All these are the same items of balance sheet which we have seen. So this is the cash under the cash and cash equivalents. So it was 80,000. So let's input the figure as 80,000. And for subsidiary, it was 70,000. Okay, now fixed assets, land, fixed asset was their land. So it was 1,20,000 and 90,000. 1,20,000 and 90. Okay, so this is investment in sub. We will input it later. Then we have the common stock. Our common stock was 1 lakh for parent entity, and for subsidiary entity it was 50,000. Then this is the retained earnings account. Under retained earnings of the parent entity is what, 60,000, and for subsidiary it was 30,000. And last it is the creditors. So creditors amount was 1,05,000 for parent entity, and for subsidiary it was 80,000. Now let's come to investment. We need to define the investment also. All the POVs are same except for the intercompany dimension that we will define, because S101 is having investment in S102. So we will define it as ICP underscore 10 space are these subsidiary entity. So we have defined the intercompany over here, and under against the investment in sub, we will input the figures of the investment also. So our investment in the subsidiary was 65,000. Okay, we have input all the figures. Now we will submit the data. So our data got submitted. We can see that in the parent entity there is a difference of there's a difference of 65,000. This is because of the investment that we have provided in the next column, and rest everything seems to be correct. Now let's go to application. This is my FCCs application. Now here we will define the rates also, we will define the ownership also, and we will define the we will run the rule of consolidation also. Okay, so let's first input the rates. So here we will go to through navigator, we will go to data. So this is data. Under data we will input the average rates and the ending rate and the historical rate. So we will select enter exchange rate single period, as this is for the same period, and our reporting currency is USD. We are converting from CAD to USD, so USD will be 1 only, average rate 1, ending rate 1. Now our subsidiaries currency was CAD, so average rate is 1.18. let's check it once again. So okay, yes, average rate is 1.18. so this is my average rate, where it is, this is my average rate, and this is my ending rate, that is 1.2. it's already defined. Okay, you want, you can input, simply input also like 1.2. so I've defined my average and the ending rate. I'll click on save, and one more thing, we need to check our POVs. So our view is periodic, entity is global assumption, that is the topmost entity. Our period is January, year is 15, and scenario is actual. We need to be very cautious about the POVs, because at this particular intersection we're inputting the exchange rates. So we'll click on save. Data has been saved. Now we will input the we have provided the average rate and we have provided the ending rate. Now we will provide the historical rate as well. So instead of providing the historical rate, we can provide the amount also. So this is override input. Under override input we will define the rates, we will define the amount, converted amount and the actual amount. Okay, so this is the override rate. So as you can see that this is the common stock, and under the common stock its value is, when we will convert it, it will become 62,500. our converted value was 62,500, and similarly our CAD value is 50,000. so we will define CAD value also. So we have defined CAD value 50,000 only. We can simply input the figures 50,000. Okay, and then we will click on save. The data has, this form also got saved. Now we have defined the rates. Now we will define the ownership percentage. So we'll go to application, consolidation. We will select our entity. Our entity is South. We will go to total geography. We will search for our entity, and then we will click on OK. One more thing we can check, that this CTA will get only calculated when the currencies of parent and subsidiary are different. So we can check this under the dimensions. Let me go to entity dimension. Under total geography we have our entities. So S_100 is the console entity, S101 is the parent entity, and S102 is the subsidiary entity in our example. So we'll open the properties of S101. So we have this as the USD as its currency. We'll check for the subsidiary entity also. Its currency is CAD. Then only we will have the calculation of CAD when the subsidiary and parent are having different currencies. Okay, so we were defining the ownership. Go to application, go to consolidation. Again we will search for our entity and we will set up POVs. So scenario is plan, we need to change. So this is plan. Our year was 15 and period is January, and then we will click on OK. So this is our entity. We will define that this is the holding entity and it is having the ownership percentage of 100%. And subsidiary will S102 is subsidiary, so it will remain subsidiary. Now we will click on save changes. Data saved successfully. Now we will click go to actions and recompute the ownership data. Let's check for our POVs again. Scenarios plan, year is 15 and period is January. So we will click on recompute. Okay, so we have defined the ownership. Now we will run the rule of consolidation. We'll go to rules. Click on consolidate. We will change our entities and our POVs. We will select our entity. Our entity is SCS. Then period is January, scenario is plan, year is 15, and then we will click on launch. So our consolidation has run successfully. Now we will go to our smart view again. Now I've created the output sheet. We will simply click on refresh. So we got the results. Now let's check the results, whether we are getting the correct results or not. Let's check whether the consolidation has run successfully or not. So we can say that consolidation has run successfully because investment in sub is getting eliminated. We're getting the common stock of the parent entity only. We are getting the CTS minus 1900, which we were getting when we did the calculation manually. Okay, and let's check for the converted amount also. So let's check the amount, consolidated amount. So our total of cash was 1,64,000. Let's check. A total of cash is 1,64,000. It is coming. Then next is our land. So total of land when we perform the manual calculation was 2,28,000. So it is oh sorry, this is output sheet. This is 2,28,000. Okay, then our investment in subsidiary became 0. Our investment in subsidiary is 0. No figure is there. Okay, then we calculated goodwill of 2,500. This is again 2,500 goodwill, 2,500. Then next we have the common stock. Common stock will be of the parent entity only. The common stock is parent entity 1 lakh. Then we have the retained earnings of 95,400. So 95,400. That is 95,500. Then what else next? Then we have the figure of CTA. So we have the figure of CTA minus 1,900. Then we have the creditors 2,01,000. So we have 2,01,000 creditors. So we could see that while performing the manual calculation, we have to calculate CTA. But when we perform the calculation of CTA on FCCs application, we could see that it has been calculated automatically just by providing the translation rates. This is how my CTA is calculated in the FCCs application. Goodwill is calculated, yes. So this was for today. Thank you. For any queries, please reach out us at www.bispsolutions.com.